Hello, everybody. I am back. My name is Anna Torelli, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas as well as a happy new year. Yes, I know it is January 25th today, and I still have Christmas behind me. But Christmas is such a beautiful time, and therefore, in our traditions, we keep it until, well, for a long time in January, because Christmas always brings happiness to our lives. So, in my family, we tend to keep it a little bit longer. So, in this video, I want to talk about depression, and it is a hard topic, but it is something that we need to do something about now. Uh, I was looking at the statistics in Google, and per year, we tend to have about 740,000 deaths in suicide caused by suicides in the world, and 49,000 of those happen to be in the US. Now, those are very sad statistics. It's actually something that could have been prevented, hopefully, at one point. And unfortunately, some people come to that despair and they don't know what to do and therefore actually take the action, right? Um, I was depressed for a long time. I know now that my depression started when I was 9 years old. And I know I could have become one of those statistics at one point in my life. We all have a hard life at one point or another. Therefore, sometimes we make decisions that are not the best, right? And good thing that in my case, I was able to battle it and actually learn from that and realize that I needed to make decisions more for myself rather than because of other people. And it made me stronger as a person, somebody who decides for themselves more. And I truly was able to learn from it. So, therefore, I am hoping that with these notes that I kind of took about my own experience, I wanted to share and make sure that people were able to learn from that and hopefully not end up as part of those statistics for next year or for another time in the coming future. So I thought it was very important for me to share the actions I took. And I developed these through time. It wasn't something that came right away. It took me time. And the first thing I did was definitely learn about myself first. I needed to know what exactly made me the way I was and what exactly was making me think these things. I realized that, of course, I didn't know much about the mind. I didn't know much about human behavior. And that is mostly what I studied. I studied a lot about it because I needed to learn why I was feeling the way I was feeling and how I could battle that state and make sure that I could get through it. So I did a lot of reading. I watched so many videos on YouTube and just did all the learning that I could do. Anything that had to do with the mind, anything that had to do with human behavior and how we can change human behavior definitely was something that I read. I started battling my depression in 2017. And these are the actions that I took. And these took time. So, therefore, when practicing these, I really do suggest taking the time to do it fully and taking the time to let your emotions flow freely. because the more you let everything out, the more you can let it be acknowledged and actually pass through you rather than keep it inside and let it grow, let it marinate in there. And that's what makes it grow, make it bigger. If it just stays in there and it's kind of like you're mulling over those emotions, over those thoughts, right? So I truly suggest being alone when you do this and forgiving people from the past. Everybody who hurt you, who did something to you or said something to you, just write about your pain. Journal about everything that happened, everything that you remember, everything that came to mind. Be very specific. And the reason I did that for myself is because I wanted to see everything or have a record of the situation and then be able to study it and also learn from it. That is what I looked at. So you let your emotions rise and you give them space to be expressed. So from here, writing down that I needed to forgive a certain person in my life, I asked myself, with this person in my life now? If the answer was no, I still needed to know what it took for me to forgive this person fully. I needed to write down every single thing that I thought was going to give me that closure, that ending to that pain. So journal about all the possibilities that can happen, and especially find the one that ends with you letting go of the situation, you letting go of that pain, and therefore not be triggered. If you ever happen to see this person, if you ever happen to remember them or think about the memory, that you would not be triggered, you would not feel that again. Or even if you felt it, you still did not act accordingly to that. So after that, you build barriers against this person. You definitely make sure that you do not think this way again. That would trigger that pain. You stop sort of like that path in your mind to make sure that you don't get there anymore. And if you did happen to see this person again, could you be cordial? Could you be respectful? Could you just have a regular conversation and be clear of any reaction? So the goal would be to get there at that point. Now, you may have to journal so much. It may take years to get this pain out from this person or the situation, but you still are working on it. The more you're journaling, the more you're doing the analyzing, you're just letting it go. You get to a point where you just say to yourself, okay, that's it. I can let go of this because I have analyzed it. It's in the past. It is gone. Now, if the person is still in your life right now, describe to yourself, what is the nature of this relationship? Is this an essential relationship? Do I need to keep it? Can you detach from this person fully or even just in certain ways? But you decide, because if you can't detach right now, you need to figure out what type of barriers you can put, either with your time, the mind space that you give this person, whether it's emotional space or just thoughts that you give this person or about this person, the importance you give them. So it's about those things too. What energy are you spending on that person? If you can detach from this person, decide how you're going to do that. If you're going to do it just suddenly, then okay, you decide that though. If you can't do it suddenly, then figure out a way that you can do it. I want to say more, I don't want to say cordially because you're not really telling them that's what you're doing, but some way that it fits respectfully. You're not lashing out at this person, you're not yelling at them for anything. You are just detaching. You are letting go of every single interaction that you could have with this person. So you decide what the full spectrum of this could be, because you decide what conditions there are, what type of person they are. Well, you know what type of person they are, and you work with that, right? But once you create those barriers, or you create that certain detachment, you need to change your barriers and make sure they are strengthened for when this person reacts a certain way to what you are doing. If they realize suddenly that you're detaching and they want answers, well, can they come to you and talk to you about it? You decide. You don't need to let anybody in your space if you don't want them to be there. So you are the one who gets to decide whether they can be there to explain themselves or to talk about the situation and get better. But if they are not there to get better, then it is not something that you need to negotiate. Your barriers do not need to be negotiated. So keep that in mind, because it's very important to know and keep it and actually execute, making sure that you don't let anybody go past those barriers, right? Now, another thing I want to mention, so yes, barriers are limits that we give access to this person to our, whether it is presence, time, even if they are not present. So that can include the thoughts and the mind space that you give them, the effort that you put into the relationship, the importance in your mind. So, do you listen to what they say? Do you take their advice? What are your feelings towards this person? And any gifts that can be exchanged between the two of you. So you control the barriers. You control the limits. So that's what barriers are. And I think it is very important for everybody to develop these, because we need to take care of our hearts. More so because we have let people trample our hearts before. And not that it's your fault. It's just that sometimes we love too much, or we love this person. We just, unfortunately, they are not ready to love us unconditionally, right? So we need to have barriers more often than not. If there is somebody who you realize that sometimes they omit the truth, or sometimes you catch them on a certain lie, realize what is going on. What is the actual goal of this person? What are they really after with you in the relationship? If the relationship is something that you can tell that they could have some sort of power over you, or doing something to manipulate you, then yes, it is time to end this type of relationship. But you are the one who has to be aware and clear on what they are doing, how they are acting, and how they are treating you. So it is very important to keep note and observe how people are being with you. Now I'm going to go into the mindsets that we should be having, because And these are the ones that I developed over time. And of course, it didn't come easy. So what it should be is you develop the mindsets with habits that you create. So of course, it's not going to happen in one night, but over time, if you create habits that make you feel good about yourself, that make you just make you be able to grow as a person and be the person that you should be, that you become an even better person, the person that you should be in the end, right? So this includes being a fighter for yourself, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I'm going to leave it up to you in terms of physically, because everybody knows their own life. And I'm not promoting violence, I am promoting self-care. So if somebody is being physical with you, then yes, you should be able to defend yourself in a certain way, or make sure that somebody else can defend you on your behalf. But nobody should be hurting anybody, right? Deliberately, right? So the next one that I thought of, that I realized, was being present, but planning for the future while studying the past. So everything that I know about myself is because I was able to look into my past and see, at one point did I start thinking this? How did I learn this? Or why do I feel the way I feel? Because, and it must be because of this situation. So learning where you became the person that you are, learning yourself and your character and what made you you, is actually going to help you to create the next version of you. Because if you know the state that something is at, you can always improve it. You can always see the next step that it needs to change at. So it's very important to keep track of where you are at all times, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, as well as even socially. How do you deal with people? How do you socialize? The things that you do, right? And another mindset that I really thought was very important was knowing that change is the only constant. We do not make things change, it just happens. That is the actual flow of life. And yes, we don't like change. A lot of us do not like change, but it is what is actually keeping the flow going. There has to be change before there can be better things coming into life, right? And realizing that you can adapt and you can become a better, flexible, adaptable person when it comes to this change. So, and another one too, being about relationships, knowing to find those true relationships, the ones that love you unconditionally and you can love them unconditionally, learning to develop and commit to those relationships, and having relationships where there's no judgment of value. It's more about the love that you can give that person and they can give back to you. So those types of relationships are the ones that we should be nurturing, that we should be finding everywhere, right? And those are the ones that we want. Now, I want to talk about self-care in the end of this, because it's very important to keep that going. We need to be able to nurture ourselves in order to be able to nurture others and be the pillars that other people need, like a beacon in their life, right? And so becoming becoming self-sustaining when it comes to your self-care. Knowing when your low levels of energy are and compensating to be able to help you get there. Your energy levels up, you know? So dealing with, so finding your cycles. When do you get the most work done? When do you need the most nurturing in your life? When do you need to sleep more? When do you need to rest more? And it's about knowing your cycles. It's that self-care where you learn what your cycles are. You become resilient because you are working with your cycles. You are learning to make sure that if you know that you're going to have a hard day on Wednesdays, that you have great self-care on Wednesday night, right? And it has to be an emotional care and a mental care, as well as physical and spiritual. So those are the main pillars that we need to find in our lives, that we nurture in our lives. Learning how your emotions need nurturing is very important. Your moods, what triggers you, what makes you more angry in certain times. So we do go through moods in periods that we have temperaments, right? So learning that we all have these and to work with your own cycles in life. I mean, everything that you can know about yourself is what will help you create a better life for yourself. And because I am developing myself and making sure that I learn. And if I'm learning, I can share that with the world through these videos. And not that everybody's going to watch my videos, but just the few people that I can get to and actually, hopefully they can learn something from the videos that I make. So now that we are working on our depression and forgiving people and forgiving situations, we need to learn how to maintain new feelings, anything that is coming with new situations as well. So we need to be maintaining the new and maintaining the old as well. So if you're working on both, it can be very overwhelming, but it is something that you can do. So you can build a system for dealing with things that come to you in your life. You can first acknowledge. You have to look at the situation in a logical way, as well as with the emotions that you're feeling. So knowing the emotions, writing them down, making sure that you understand the feelings that come with it as well. So you're keeping track of the emotion as well as seeing everything logically or subjectively. And that means that you have to accept the reality of the situation, reality of the people that are involved. So you're not, of course, we cannot change people, and that should be known already. We cannot change anybody, but you can learn how to deal with those emotions. So you don't need to feel lost when it comes to different situations coming to you. And also reviewing what possibilities from those situations you can take to your advantage. So analyzing every situation so that you can learn what to do next and what to do better and how you can react better. So reviewing the possibilities and finding anything that can be to your advantage and changing towards it, making sure that you make those changes and adapting to those changes and repeating from there. So you are acknowledging, you are accepting and reviewing and changing. It's a cycle, basically, right? So it's the cycle of changing, of dealing with life. Okay, so I did want to mention about confronting people. Now, you may feel at any point that you may want to do this. For my own healing, I did not confront anybody. I did not go talk to anybody. In fact, I forgave everybody without talking to them. So the way that you can do this, like I mentioned, yes, you can deal with it as like that person is no longer there in your life, and also detaching from those situations, those relationships. But if you really feel that you must confront this person, I suggest a couple of things. Now, make sure you do not make your healing depend on their reaction. Now, the reason I say this is because, again, you cannot control anybody. So it can go either really bad or really well, depending on the person. Yes, you think you know someone, but when you confront somebody telling them what they did wrong, then most people get defensive. Most people look at their image and it's kind of like it's intimidating to them. So therefore, they start blaming you. They start finding a way out or explaining excuses or anything like that. So you cannot depend on their reaction being a good reaction. You cannot depend on healing from that because of them. So it's very important to know that you can be healing yourself and letting go of the situation without anything they do. So I think that's a very important thing to do. As well as if you are going to confront them, you should be about 80% to 90% healed. Now, of course, those percentages are up to you. It's not something that you are you have a scale for or anything like that, or you can find statistics or anything like that. It's more like you just feel like you're mostly okay about it. You may still feel a little bit of trigger there. You may still feel a little bit of emotion, and it makes you still a little bit like your blood is boiling or anything like that, right? But no, make sure you are past that point. So that way, in case the interaction goes really bad, you don't get depressed again. You don't go back to the depression. To see what I mean? Like, you should be able to take it well, whether it goes well or not. So don't make that be the final point, the turning point for the healing. Okay? I think that's very important as well. And yes, most people will defend themselves, but there are those that are emotionally mature, and they will listen and make sure that they resolve everything with you. So there are those people that will acknowledge their mistakes, and they will work to better the situation with you because they love you, right? And those are the types of relationships that we should be nurturing, the ones that are willing to work with us and learn what they did wrong, if they did anything wrong in our lives, right? That made us feel a certain way. So we should be able to talk about things that they did, and we are able to resolve it together. Okay, so it should be about conversation. And in reality, if it's a good relationship, you will be able to do that. It should be something that can be done. You can ask that person, hey, let's have a conversation. I need to talk to you about this. And I felt this because of what you did here. So therefore, you can ask for a solution as well and try to resolve it from there. But it depends on the type of person they are and the type of person that you are and how you present it as well. Because if you just come at them and start blaming, like, you did this, you did that, then that's attacking somebody as well. So you should be able to talk instead, or be able to say it in a different way. Something like, hey, I noticed that the other day when you said this, I actually felt this, and it didn't make me feel good. So, we can talk about why. And they can also ask you, hey, I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. What caused it? Or what can I do to make sure that you don't end up feeling this way again? So that's what I'm saying. We were trying to work with other people and finding out what the resolutions are between us in those relationships, right? And again, those are the ones that we should be nurturing, the ones that work with us and learn to not hurt our feelings, but if they do, they will apologize and make it better. So again, I think this is a better way to deal with depression, especially if you're really angry at people. If there are certain things that people did that you feel you need to resolve within yourself, I would say this is a good way to start. Now, some of you will see that there's more things that you need to add, more journaling that you need to do with it, and that's great. You should be able to modify this process as you need to. This is not the end all be everything for this, the only healing there is. No. In fact, there are different ways of healing, and everybody can learn to heal themselves. But that's what I mean. You work with it yourself and learn yourself so that you can make sure you heal a certain way and get better and be able to have better opportunities in life, because you are looking for those opportunities and you are growing as a person and having better situation in your life and becoming happier. Isn't that the whole point of life, that we look for our happiness, that we have the right to get there? So I want to say thank you so much for being here, and I hope that something I said was able to help you see how you can better yourself and you can heal yourself as well, or actions that you can take towards that path. Okay, so thank you so much again for being here. I appreciate every one of you who was able to see this video. Please leave me comments. You can ask me anything and we can talk about it as well. So thanks again for being here, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.